Thanks for coming out tonight. It's pretty rare to see this many people at our meetings. So first order, I'd like a motion from the commission to start the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Second.
Okay, so moved. Okay, so I just want to reiterate that the function of this hearing,
Need to vote.
the vote's moved.
No, we need to vote on, we need to vote on the motion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All those,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
now you're set.
Sorry, so moved. Procedures. Anyway, so the function of this hearing is to receive input on the historical significance of the Greenfield Fire Station, and in accordance with the demolition delay ordinance that this town has. And my secretary, Tim Blagg, is going to be facilitating the meeting. I'm going to hand it over to him. One point of order that I should make is, in accordance with the State Ethics Commission, I filed a disclosure with them, which is available at the clerk's office, if anybody wants to read that. And what else? Pretty much it. Decorum, stay on topic, 3 minutes. Is that good?
Okay, first of all, let me, we did get some comments that were sent in to the town through email, and so let me read those first, so I'll enter those into the record. My name is Victoria Tubbs. I saw the Historical Commission plans to hold a public hearing Thursday in the recorder. I saw it in the recorder. Unfortunately, I am unable to attend. Is there any way I can help stop the demolition of the fire station? I'm even willing to purchase it if necessary. I'm local to Greenfield and do believe destruction of this building would be a great loss for the community. Let me know your thoughts. Thank you for your time, Victoria Tubbs. This is from Wanda Pyfrom. I was on the City Council for Greenfield in 2017. Information about our fire station needing to be removed from a preservation restriction in order for the library project to move forward was not disclosed during that time. If that piece of information hadn't been kept from us, my vote to allow the grant application to be submitted would have been a no instead of the yes I voted at the time. This is from C.R. Lane. Removal of the fire station secretly removed from a historical preservation agreement without, this is garbled, to be informed and heard on the matter by the citizens of Greenfield. Removal of an historical building that was and should remain an historical land site without informing or having a hearing to address its removal and the opportunity to be informed and heard on the matter is a disgrace. Who and why was it removed from the historical preservation agreement without the citizens of Greenville involved? Because the fire station is in the state and national registry, by law, demolition cannot be approved without a public hearing that allows the public to weigh in. Do the tax-paying citizens no longer have a say with regard to what they want or do not want in this city? The action is beyond disgracefully. A parking lot. When most people in the 21st century can and do use all the new technology to access electronically anything and everything, I suspect less people now use the library than in the past, and yet a person or body of people decided that an historic building should be replaced by a parking lot. I do not agree, as many people I have talked to. A historic site should not have been removed without first having a hearing from the citizens of Greenfield. We should have been made aware of the removal being removed from an historical preservation agreement. I have unanswered questions regarding this answer and certainly want them. Christopher Lane is the name. This is from Linda Russell. Keep the existing fire station on Main Street on the state and national historic registry, and please do not reduce it to a pile of rubble. This is from Sandy Kosterman. I am against demolition of our Greenfield fire station and having it be used as a parking lot. We have a parking garage in town. It should not be taken out of historic preservation. Our historical commission is required to preserve historical buildings in town, and they should do their job to preserve and protect this building. And this is a second letter from, well, this is from Ken Russell. I'm writing to you in regards to the existing fire station, the 911 memorial, installed in memory of the firefighters who paid the ultimate cost to save lives at the World Trade Center. The fire station listed in the state and national registry appears to have been taken out of this designation in 27 unknown persons, with no notice of hearings or public knowledge. That said, I oppose the demolition and destruction of a building with such significance to the citizens of Greenfield. Please allow the citizens of Greenfield to have their voices heard before it's torn down for a parking lot. It would be a shame to lose such a historical building. Before I open up to public comments, let me say a couple of things about the building itself, just so we're all speaking about the same place. The fire station was built in 1936 as part of a Public Works Administration project. The PWA, which was a New Deal program under Franklin Delano Roosevelt, was about a third of that was paid, the cost of building the building was paid for by the federal government. The other two-thirds were paid for by the town. It is in a colonial revival style, similar to the City Hall, which was done in 1954 in a similar colonial revival style. According to the fire chief, the building at present is structurally defective, in his opinion, and is inadequate to the needs of the use for a fire station. The building itself has been changed a number of times over the years. There have been additions made to it, most notably recently for the tower truck. And the underpinnings of the building, which were originally built to hold the fire engines of the time, turned not to be strong enough, and so there are structural I-beams put in the basement and other places to hold the building up. The agreement by the Historical Commission for the demolition of the building includes preserving some pieces of the building in order to preserve some of the historical aspects of it. And it is, in fact, on the state and national register of historic places as part of the contributing elements of the Main Street Historic District. So, with that, let me open up the floor. Anybody who wants to speak, please come up to this table, tell us who you are, and say your piece.
We'd like to go in order, the order.
Yeah, probably by order of the sign-in sheet. That would be probably best.
I can just read the names.
Yeah.
Danielle Letourneau.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Danielle Letourneau. I live at 40 Garfield Street in Greenfield. I'm a 20-year resident of Greenfield. I'm a former city councilor from 2006 to 2011. And full disclosure, of course, I currently work as chief of staff to the mayor. I was, as city councilor, the co-author to the demolition delay ordinance. I co-authored it with former Mayor Martin, who was then city council representative from precinct 7. I was from 6. So I want to let the public and this board know that both the written detail and the spirit of Chapter 241, the Demolition Delay Ordinance, states that the sole discretion for the decision on whether to not delay or demolish or save parts of a historic or significant building rests with you, this board. It is my opinion that in 2017, when you vetted this property during the beginning of the grant phase for the library, that you satisfied the spirit of the ordinance. However, I thank you for doing the public hearing tonight, because that is the actual step under the ordinance that we wrote back when I was a city councilor. The second thing I would like to speak to is the other thing that happened when I was a city councilor. Again, 2006 to 2011. We talked at length on that city council about how the fire station building was inadequate for the fire trucks and for the safety of the firefighters at that time. That is 10 years ago. We weren't in the process anywhere near the process of building these other projects at that time. This was a standalone comment that we were very concerned with how to fund and appropriate for a new fire station. My understanding is that the historic parts, pieces, artifacts, and other pieces of this building have been preserved and brought out in order to, fully have the historical significance held in honor. So I do appreciate the time, and I think that this board can make their decision solely based on the facts. Thanks.
Could someone by the windows pull the shades down, please? Thank you. Just all three of them. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I am co-chair of the Library Building Project as well as vice chair of the Board of Trustees of the library and been involved in this process for 10 years. I'm here today wanting to set the record straight. There are some of those who are complaining that we did not follow the law in this process, and I want to state that that is simply not true. I also would like to state that if the fire station is not demolished, we will lose our $9.4 million grant from the state, as well as the $2 million that has been pledged by the foundation. We have to return the $2 million already spent, return $500,000 from the foundation, and there'll be no chance to get another grant for 10 to 20 years.
Come on, guys, stick to your own, play by your own rules for once, or stop right up.
Somebody has to step in and control the,
All right, guys, I think this is exactly what I was afraid of. Let a person.
Stop your guy from sticking up.
Is this? This is not orderly. I'm gonna ask everybody. Hey, please, people. Everybody, please shut up, okay? Not okay. Sir, in the back. In the back, please. You guys. Please. Please. Sir, in the back. Keep it in line. I spend all day. Sir, I'm trying to.
I can start swearing and I get to stay?
Can you, sir, can you do me a favor?
Leave. No, I'm doing what he did. You're letting him.
Now you're taking over. Now you're taking over.
Oh, look, see, as an example.
Let me know when you're done. I deal with teenagers all the time, sir. So let me know when you're ready to stop talking so I can get this thing back on track. Excuse me? Okay.
That's ridiculous. You guys know what's cowardly, pathetic little wieners.
Somebody is sitting here, signed up to speak. You can speak. I'm going to ask everybody in the room. If you can't keep it together, then please leave. Okay? Sir, you're going to be the first one on my list, okay? Because I'm giving everybody the list that I'm making right now. The list that I'm making right now, okay? I'm asking everybody to keep it together so we can get through this hearing, all right? Please don't interrupt anybody. Let's restart. Keep it together, sir. You keep interrupting me. That's 4 times. Ooh, what? Go ahead. All right? Please be quiet while somebody's speaking. No, sir. 3 minutes. Mr. Berlin, I believe you've got, whatever, a minute or so to go.
No. I was 1 minute into my talk.
Okay.
2 minutes, please.
Please don't interrupt people while they're speaking. That's not hard to do. I asked that right out the gate. Thank you.
Chapter 9, Section 27 governs the process that must be followed when a project like this is seeking state funding. We followed that process. We made notification of this project in 2017 to the State Historical Commission. It was at that time that we had learned about this preservation agreement, and what we had learned, it came about in 1995 when there was funding was sought for the old library, and there was an agreement to put the old library in a preservation agreement. A mistake was made. We found out that when the boundary of the property was made, it included a part of the fire station. When we became aware of that, we began a consultation project, a process as outlined by Chapter 9, Section 27C. That resulted in the amendment of the preservation agreement that removed the fire station. We then we were involved in a consultation process with regard to the rest of Chapter 9, Section 27C. The purpose there is to involve a process to see if there's a way to mitigate a problem and still be able to demolish the building. We went through that process. There was weigh-in from this commission, from the Historical Society, from the fire chief, from the mayor, and no one objected at that time, and this commission agreed to it, and we entered into a memorandum of agreement whereby we were allowed to demolish the fire station if 4 particular artifacts were saved, and a 5th one now we are planning to save, which is the 9/11 memorial. The purpose of this demolition delay is to avoid surprise. There's been no surprise. We've been in the public forum here since at least 2017. We've gotten a vote of a supermajority of the council and 61% of the electorate.
We are keeping track of the time. Would you please sit down? Would you please sit down?
Sir, I'm running a timer right here. 2 minutes and 56 seconds. Listen, you guys, I'm not going to keep doing this all night. All right?
Thanks, Ted.
There's a number of people who keep calling out in the back, and you're disorderly. And I asked at the very beginning of this meeting to be civil and orderly. I was very clear about that. Okay?
Thanks, Ed.
I must just say thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
And let me say here, as we go forward, that we were very careful to make sure.
Watching me. Get that on film, Jesus. I'm sorry, the chief of staff of the town is giving me a threatening. She's watching me.
I really don't think you should be too worried, sir. The fact of the matter is that what Mr. Berlin had to say was, in fact, very much to the historical status of the building that we're talking about, and that's why it was allowed. Okay? Next person, please.
He was allowed to go past 3 minutes?
Next.
What he was talking about?
Sir, please. Dude, sir, please. Dude, I'm just trying to read the names here, guy. I'm just trying to read the names. Are you guys going to call out all night? Is this what we have to do to be satisfied? Or can I follow the democratic process? All right?
Calm. Take it easy. Take it easy.
Jiminy,
Take it easy. Take it easy. Take it easy. Please.
You just said, Mr. Black, you said you gave him extra time because of...
I didn't give him extra.
No, I did not say that. I said that we were sure that it was on topic, and it was. Okay? Would you sit down, please? Thank you. Next person, please, is...
Catherine Batsis. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Push the button on the mic when you're talking. Okay. This is to the Greenfield Historical Commission. I do not think that you should even think of allowing the demolition of the Greenfield Fire Station. The residents of Greenfield should have been informed that there was a plan to demolish the fire station as part of the library plan, and we could have had this discussion at a time to see how the residents felt about it. It states in your mission statement that you are supposed to follow the state law, Chapter 40, and be the preservation planning arm of local government to identify, preserve, and develop Greenfield's historic assets. Why are you not helping to preserve our fire station? Isn't it your job to do so? Our Greenfield Fire Station is in our National and State Register Main Street Historic District as a contributing building. Just telling people that it isn't doesn't make it true. It's been part of our historic district and our history for many years, and if it's taken out of that designation, it should require input from everyone in our town so the decision is transparent to all. If people in Greenfield knew about the fire station being a historic building on the state and national register, and if they knew it was going to be demolished to make a parking lot for the new library, they might have voted differently when the new library came up for a vote. Even your chairman was quoted differently when the new library came up for a vote. Oh, excuse me. Even your chairman was quoted in the Greenfield Recorder that he knows that a lot of people didn't know about this when they voted for the new library. I should think it's the job of the Greenfield Historical Commission to make people aware of this. Is that being transparent? We are here today asking you to vote to delay the demolition to give us, the residents and taxpayers who are paying the bill for all of this, time to figure out a way to save the building. We are asking you to designate our fire station as a preferably preserved building, and then we have 6 months to figure it out. If you go ahead and demolish it, there's no going back, and you have taken away our right to preserve it as one of our historical assets in Greenfield. Have you thought of renovating our historic fire station and perhaps adding on to it if...
That's 3 minutes, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. Catherine J. Batsis.
Thank you. Next name I have is Paula Dolan.
Thank you. I'd first like to thank the Commission for doing due diligence for the past 5 years in working with the state on getting it clear about the historical significance of the property and of the building of the fire station relative to the new library. Since the 1990s, the firefighters in this town have looked forward to the demolition of this building and the building of a new building. And if you can read the recorder articles, you can speak to retired firefighters. I, like many people in this room, for 3 years spoke about the building of the new library and the demolition of the fire station. I probably, at least hundreds, if not over 1,000 people that I personally speak to, going door to door and speaking to at public meetings. And in every case, we said this fire station is going to be torn down. It is the only way that the library can be built. And as a matter of fact, that the money for tearing it down, saving the town hundreds of thousands of dollars, is in the library grant. So when I read that people didn't know about this, I wrote articles to the recorder. I wrote articles and sent it out to thousands of people online saying the fire station was going to be demolished. People spoke about, oh, that's a shame, oh, it's whichever, but everybody knew. Thank you.
Next name is Richard Ross.
Am I allowed to take this off to speak? Yes? Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you about the fire station. You are our historical commissioners. I read your mission statement, and it says you are supposed to follow the state law, Chapter 40, and be the preservation planning arm of local government to identify, preserve, and develop Greenfield's historic assets. It would seem to me that you would be the ones telling us how important it is to acknowledge the historic value of the fire station. But instead, we're here to remind you of your duty and to appeal to your sense of responsibility to protect an historic asset that is under your jurisdiction. It is a fact that the fire station is in our national and state register Main Street Historic District as a contributing building. This means it is recognized as an important part of the district and our history. Just because you say it isn't historic doesn't make it so. If the public had been told that the fire station was definitely going to have to be demolished in order to make a parking lot for the new library, I think people would have spoken up about it. But the decision to try to demolish it was made for us when the library people decided to say so to the state. Even your chairman said in the recorder that he knows that a lot of people didn't know about this when they voted for the library. I also might bring up a point that there's a conflict of interest of somebody that's on this panel that has a concern or a relationship with a person that works for the library. So here we are today, and we are asking you to vote for a delay in demolishing the fire station to give us, the residents and taxpayers who are footing the bill for all of this, time to figure out a way to save the building. There are a lot of literally or really smart people in Greenfield, and if there is a way to move it or work around it, I'm sure we will find out. From what I understand, you need to vote to say the fire station is a preferably preserved building, and then we have 6 months to figure it out. If you go ahead and demolish it, you've taken away one of our assets and our right to preserve it. I'll add one thing that's not written down. When my children were little, my youngest is 40, he asked us, can we go down to the fire station? Every week we went down to the fire station. I have one more comment, please don't shut me down. I have a neighbor named Bob Ferris. I'm sure all of you know who Bob Ferris is. He was the safety coordinator for the fire department. He was a fireman. His grandfather was the fire chief way back in the day. I called Bob today. They are against tearing that building down. So the person that mentioned that every person wanted the building torn down, that is not so. We need to establish this as a museum and figure something out. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I appreciate all of you for doing the job that you're doing. I know where you're at this point. I'll start with a quick quote. Acts under the Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 8D, as the preservation planning arm of the local government to identify, preserve, and develop Greenfield's historical assets. I'm sure you all know what that quote is. It's your mission statement. Of late, I've seen and heard some very disturbing things that lead me to believe that there is some confusion about what exactly the charge of this commission is. The firehouse on Main Street, contrary to what some believe and are saying, is an historically significant building and is in fact protected by that designation. It is designated a contributing building in the Main Street Historic District. This district was created in part by one of the very commissioners on this board, submitted and subsequently approved by both the National and Massachusetts Historic Commissions in September of 1988, upon the request of the town by virtue of an affirmative vote by the legislative body. The fact this property was accepted by the citizens as a significant building that contributes to the district was 33 years ago. is factually significant in that it is now 33 years older and cannot be somehow less historic and less significant. I'm concerned by some of the many comments by the chair of this board, notwithstanding the disclosure that I now know that you filed, that he has his mind already made up as to the fate of the historic Greenfield Fire Station, and that this public hearing is not offered to the public in the vein that the law requires, both in spirit and in practice. Most concerning to me is the letter the chair sent to the Mass Historical Commission saying in part, quote, "The Greenfield Historical Commission supports the project to build a new public library which would necessitate demolition of the current Greenfield Fire Station." That was not a publicly shared letter. The chair is well within his duty to send such a letter, but not before the commission, under his leadership, has followed the requirements of the open meeting law, Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40C, and the commission's own demolition delay ordinance. This letter indicates that the board unanimously agrees with that which is stated within it. I can find no minutes that indicate that is in fact the case, but must believe that he has been in contact and consultation with all of you, and thus it is correct. However, there appears to have been no discussion or vote to that effect pursuant to the open meeting law, which, if true, would indicate a gross violation of the open meeting law. Having served as an elected official for this town for 20 years, my experience tells me that based on the comments made and the appearance of a conflict of interest, the chair cannot be objective in this particular matter, and therefore should recuse himself from all discussion and votes on the matter. As stated earlier, one member of this board was instrumental in creating the historic district and declaring the firehouse a significant building and contributing part of it. I'm shocked to think that now, 33 years later, and based on the previously mentioned letter, you now believe it is no longer of any historical significance, but moreover believe it is so useless that it can be demolished. After 33 years of the protection of the... I submitted my comments in email as well.
As a point of information, as a secretary of the commission, I do the minutes, and the minutes did in fact talk about the letter that was written to the state by the chair. So that is in the minutes. If you look them up, you can see that. Just as a point of information, that's all. Not talking about the content, just saying that did happen and it was in the public minutes.
Hi, Don Moore, 88 Hope Street. I wasn't gonna, this wasn't in it, but now that Brickett had mentioned the minutes, I have put in a public request for the minutes from not only the Greenfield Mass Historical Commission, but from the Massachusetts Historical Commission. For the entire year of 2017, there was never any discussion or deliberance or voting or anything. So Brickett was correct. There were no minutes. And you have a packet in front of you that I dropped off before we started, and I'd like to reference a few things so you can reference while I'm speaking. So as far as the Mass Historical Commission's response to the project notification form that's required when the demolition needed to happen for the fire station. First of all, we can sit here and argue about whether the fire station should have been in the preservation agreement, whether it should have, shouldn't have. That doesn't matter. That's a separate entity. Whether it's in that or not, it's still registered in the national and state registry. And if you see Exhibit B that you have in front of you, that letter from the Mass Historical Commission, it states right in it that it would have an adverse effect, demolition would have an adverse effect on our historical district. And they actually turned down the request to have it demolished. And then, but because we can't talk about the library, we won't go how it went from there to here. Sorry. But what is important is that letter that you're going to see in Exhibit C. For Mr. Pasiglia sitting here. What's important is that letter from him in 2017 from the chair sitting here right now. The letter says, and it's highlighted for you so you can find it easily, the commission supports the project to build a library which would necessitate the demolition of the current fire station. But like I said, I put in a public request for all the minutes for that entire year from both Mass Historical Commission and the Greenfield Historical Commission, and there's not one topic on the agenda or the minutes. So he then again repeats the behavior, and that's Exhibit E in the email that he just recently sent to the building inspector in response to the building permit request, application, sorry. You can read it for yourself, where he says, again, the Historical Commission has reviewed the fire station and approves the demolition. Well, guess what? Guess what I did? I put in a request for the public record minutes. Did you guys discuss it? Because he responded 2 days after he got the building permit. So unless you guys all met on the weekend, had a few cocktails and discussed it, that's not, he's again misrepresenting. So that's not true. And I'm sorry, you know, there was things that were said too that now I want to add on to. So, yeah. And if citizens were given the opportunity in 2017, would someone like to give me their time?
It's time, let her go. She spent enough time on this. Exactly.
Stephanie?
No, it's not okay. This is a public hearing.
Okay.
We want to hear.
Can you,
She spent
excuse
a
me.
year on this project.
Can someone,
We need to hear. We need to hear.
can I, she's surrendering her 3 minutes. Can she defer her 3 minutes to me, please?
Okay. Okay.
Can she defer her 3 minutes to me, please? Stephanie,
No,
please
there's
sign.
no provision for that. Public hearing rules are well stated in advance, and
Robert's rules of order, follow it.
we are, and that's the way public hearings are set up. The time limit is announced in advance. The time limit is announced in advance, and we are.
This should already be done.
Can we have someone sit next to me and I will tell them what to say?
Oh, no.
Why? Why? You
No.
read the emails. Why can't I have someone read what I want to say? That's okay. I think we pretty much already exposed what this is.
Okay.
It's not okay.
I thought we had freedom of speech here.
We don't anymore. No, our speech is getting curtailed.
This is people's business.
This is our town.
Yeah, this is our time.
The next name on the list is Adele Corcoran.
New York versus Sullivan. Look it up. Don't have to be civil.
I don't dare get up there. I think what's been asked for the fire station is satisfied me pretty much, so I'm gonna just pass. Thank you. Thank you.
It's provided in our charter.
Donna Festinger.
I'm going to let Dawn Moore and read my page.
Yeah. So if the citizens were given the opportunity in 2017, when Mr. Basiglia decided to just make the decision on behalf of the commission without any meetings, we wouldn't be in this position right now. And if you look at Exhibit D, there's some emails that I also got through a public records request, where not only was there no public hearing, but it was actually discussed amongst the library members and Mr. Basiglia to keep the information about the fire station and what the MHC said about it being in the historical district and not being allowed to be demolished, to keep it from the public, because they didn't want any negativity around the project, the library project. So you have that email too in front of you. So the library project and the urgency to get that job started should not be a reason to excel the process of demolishing a historical building. You can't just skip steps that are laid out in your own demolition delay ordinance and state laws just because you have a timeline for your library. And as far as Danny said, she said, oh, they vetted, thank you for vetting. Well, who vetted? You vetted. Nobody else on the commission vetted. And then, I'm sorry, I had taken notes because some other people said stuff. Paul said the library grant for the demolition. I know so much about these projects, I could be on all the boards. So, the grant money only pays for the demolition for 1/3 of the fire station. And then guess where the other money is coming from for the other 2/3? And for the soft demolition, because they can't just demolish it because there's historical significance to it, so they have to take it apart. Guess what? It's coming out of the fire department's funds. Did you know that? So stop lying. This whole thing. You know why people are so worked up? It's because the library and the fire station have been lumped into one, and the library people have done everything that they can to get their library. And Richard Roth said visiting the fire station. Well, you know what? I thought, how nice would it be to have all of our memorabilia and have a museum in there? And then instead of spending $1 million on Coombs in Maine, why don't we put the new fire station to match the old fire station in our historical district? And they'll have their little museum right behind them, and we save $1 million from not purchasing a property that's not town owned. So, thank you for your time.
Hello. I'm Tim Dolan, and I'm speaking as a member of the Greenfield City Council. Is it not? Okay, thank you. So I'm Tim Dolan, speaking as a member of the Greenfield City Council. And first of all, I would like to thank all of you up there.
Take your mask down, so I still can't.
Okay. I'd like to thank all of you for the work that you're doing on the commission. I know that the job is sometimes not easy, and we appreciate our volunteers. I'm here as a member of the council to emphasize something that I'm sure you already know, which is that delay costs money. Delay has a cost associated with it. We've known about this project for at least the last 5 years. The voters of the city of Greenfield voted for this library and this project, which involved the fire station. And
Guys, let the people speak, okay? Thank you.
so, as a counselor, I have seen some fantasies about what that fire station is going to be in the future, the current one. What I haven't seen is any viable plan. That's something, if it had been proposed, it would have come across my desk at some point. I don't think that there are projects that are really champing at the bit to take over a building that needs major structural work, a brick building that needs major structural work at that. So that is not a burden that I want to put on the Greenfield taxpayer to maintain. We already have one building in the center of town that needs major structural work that is currently unoccupied, and I would rather not have another. So again, thank you for your time.
Good afternoon. I am Bob Strand, Greenfield resident and your current fire chief. I was asked to speak a little bit about the current condition of the fire station. Before I do that, I want to thank everybody for their time and their passion into whichever stance that they're on, whether it's preserving or building the library. Democracy is important, and it is followed in this town, and so I do appreciate everybody being here. And this is a difficult position to be in as the fire chief. There are mixed emotions that go along with it, but what I want to present is facts. The fact of the matter is that we have run out of room at the current firehouse where we were for the
Please don't speak up. Please contain yourself.
So again, I was asked to present this, and that's what I'm here to do. The floor is inadequate for the weight of the fire trucks. There are multiple studies that back that up. That is not my opinion. The studies are on the town website, if you would like to look at them. There are major deficiencies within some of the structural walls, including the rear wall, which has a large crack that has grown over the last 5 years. It has deficiencies with the basement floor that has developed some sinkholes in the floor. The parapet walls need to be completely torn down and rebuilt. There's asbestos and lead throughout. And then obviously we have shortcomings with a modern fire station. I understand that everybody here understands that, but there have been a couple people that have suggested rehabbing it and keeping the fire station there, and so that's why I'm making the comments that I'm making. In the 50s, there was steel put in to reinforce the building, and then in the 90s, to keep us currently in that building, most of the important parts of that building were removed, including the archway for each of the doors, the decorative trim around the cupola, the holes that were put in the first floor and the second floor to add the tower bay, that what was constructed was big enough just to fit the tower that they ordered. They took the office doors off and put a false door on. That is on the left-hand side of the building, and so there has been many alterations that have been made to that building. Again, I am not here to take a stance either way. I'm just telling you that the fire department has done what it was asked to do and is at a temporary facility, and we're looking forward to going into our new facility down the road. I thank you for your time.
Sir, I'm going to pass it this time.
Okay. That's all the people that are signed up. Did anybody want to sign up and didn't get a chance or missed their opportunity to sign up? Because we're willing to listen to people if they'll sign up and identify themselves until we run out of time.
Yeah, you folks can just come up and, yeah, whoever. There you go.
Good evening. My name is Pamela Goodwin. I used to work.
Hold on one sec, ma'am, sorry.
We need to,
I gotta get the timer
have
started.
to get the
Oh, sorry.
sign-up sheet back so we can make a record.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We don't want to take a picture of who's talking.
Yeah, the last Antifa attack can't be up.
I would appreciate having it quiet while I talk. I'm just asking the group to do that.
All right, thanks, guys. Next name is Pamela Goodwin, 54 High Street.
Good evening. I thank you for your service to the community. When I lived in Shelburne Falls for many, many years, I was a member of the Historical Commission there. And at that point, we had a few buildings, but we really wanted to make it a much larger area of historical buildings, which by now they certainly have. I just want to say that when I came in, I followed 3 police vehicles, all running, actually 3 parked here, 1 ran around the corner. And I asked when I was rolling my window down, is there something going on I should know about? I came for a public comment. He's like, no, no problem. Recently, at a city council meeting, and I'm on a lot of subcommittees. I'm listening all the time. I'm making public comment. I'm thrilled that there's public comment time now on Ways and Means, appointments and ordinances, all these committees. I've spent a lot of time. I recently asked in a public comment, would people please show respect? Disagree? Fine, but let's be respectful. I almost left because all those people in the hallway, I said, is there a problem? They're like, I'm not going in there. So I am absolutely appalled that we cannot sit here and have a public comment and a dialogue and a discord going politically correct without people shouting from the back, without people interrupting, without the chaos when I first walked in. I'm sorry to be late, number one. I honor your time, but I also know that in the city that I was born in, and it was a town then, there is a real transparency problem. So I have a problem when people don't know what's going on behind closed doors.
Please don't speak up.
So when there's a transparency problem, people seem to think, do you mind? People seem to think there used to be a guy that said the buck stops at my desk. All I'm ever hearing half the time is, oh, that was that mayor. Oh, that was that committee. And I'm talking TIF money if you care, like, is the town looking for money they don't have? They're always screaming how broke they are. I would like people to take responsibility, and I would like people to know what's going on when they need to know what's going on. We do have a right as a voter, as a constituent. I fought for over 6 months for transparency at the State House with indivisible, act en masse, looking for this house down there, the State House, to be transparent. We didn't get anywhere. It was a waste of 6 months of my time. And I just am asking that people listen to each other with respect. Whatever happened to learning to disagree respectfully? I'm appalled. And I didn't show up here wearing red because I didn't want to. But I also expect that people would listen to me, people will listen to the other people, and we would just wait your turn. And not interrupt, and not holler out, and not holler back, shut up, to somebody who's trying to get the other person to shut up. It's ridiculous. Let's be adults. I'm done.
All right, next name, Garth Cheney-Dunn.
Good. Good evening. Thank you for having me here. My name is Garth Schoenefeld. I'm a 17-year-ish resident of Greenfield. I'm a founding member of Greenfield Antifa. We're not interested in fascism. We're not interested in historical oppression, and we're actively against historical oppression. Actually, being Antifa, I can't actually speak for everyone else. Despite Danny being our fearless leader, I'm here to talk about us. Yeah, I don't think we should stop any demolition, and I don't think.
All right, guys, please. That's what we're saying. That's what we're saying. So, sir, stay on topic.
Yep.
Sir, in the back, I mean, seriously, the woman who, I must say personally, the woman who spoke last, I appreciate her sentiments because the civility, and I said this right out the gate, you guys, there is no place for that. We are all volunteers. Let's be clear. We're all volunteers. For years, I've been on this commission, and I volunteer for lots and lots of things, all right? So if you can't be in here without swearing, then step out, please. Honestly, dude.
My comments about the demolition, or that I believe we should demolish it. I realize that it's part of the historic district. I think historically there's been a lot of oppression, and some of that is created by the structures we make. We need to move forward and build a better world, and I hope we can continue to do that. Thank you for your time and your, as you mentioned, your volunteerism. It's really tough being on the committee.
Okay, folks. The next name I have is Diane Alice.
I'm going to take this down so I can talk. Okay. Thank you for letting me come up, even though I didn't sign up early on. As stated earlier, one member of this board was instrumental in creating this historic district and declaring the firehouse a significant building and a contributing part of it. I am shocked to think that now, 33 years later, and based on the previously mentioned letter, you now believe it is no longer of any historical significance, but moreover, believe it is so useless that it can be demolished. After 33 years of protection of the firehouse as a significant building, what characteristics of the architecture or importance have changed? It is your duty as a commission to protect this building based on its historic significance and architectural characteristics, as well as how the district will be adversely affected by its removal. The decision most certainly should not be based on what is or was housed within it, what one unelected department head's opinion of its value is, what the land underneath it is apparently worth. Most importantly, by no means should this historical building be demolished because the ground it sits on is viewed as more valuable without it. The question isn't to tear down some worthless building. It is whether to allow a waiver of law to tear down the firehouse that is currently a protected historically significant building, recognized as such not only in Greenfield, but by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the National Register of Historic Places. I ask that this commission not approve of the short-sighted decision to remove this piece of our history. And I think that there was not a lot of transparency in a lot of the things that went on with the firehouse. Thank you.
Next name I have is Patty Curry.
Can I ask a question first? I got here a little late. Did you read Sandy Thomas's letter into the record?
Sandy Thomas?
Yeah, okay, I'll give you a copy. I know.
We didn't get it through. The letters that I read were emailed to the town, the planning department.
She emailed it to, yeah, she emailed it to Eric. Okay. I do, yeah. Yeah, when I'm done, I'll give it to you. Absolutely. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure because I got here late. Thank you. I'll suffocate. Hi, everyone. Hello, thank you for having us, being such good hosts this evening. I'm more concerned, well, I'm concerned with a number of things about the demolition of the fire station, but I'm very concerned about the process. People have talked about your mission statement. You're well aware of what it is. We know as an established fact that the fire station is a contributing building in the Main Street Historic District on both the National and State Register. Am I not speaking loud enough? Sorry. Okay, there you go. So a couple things that I have a lot to say, but I only have 3 minutes. The process for making the determination for the demolition requires adherence to very specific steps outlined in the ordinance. There are 4 different versions of it on the town website, so it's a little confusing. But I do know that the permit was submitted in August, and within 3 days, John had approved it, and there doesn't seem to be any record of a discussion with the commission, so that concerns me. According to Section 40C, which is the state law that governs your activities, the part that's titled Factors to be Considered by the Commission is that you shall not make any recommendation to requirements except for the purpose of preventing developments incongruous to the historic aspects or the architectural characteristics of the surroundings and the historic district. To do otherwise is a failure of your duty. Regardless of whether or not you support the construction of a new library, your role in the commission is to mitigate the adverse effects of the project proposed to be constructed within our historic district. Aside from agreeing to collect some artifacts, there's no public record of any advocacy from your body on behalf of the historic assets in the district. The determination of the commission that the fire station has no intrinsic historic value really represents a failure to uphold your responsibilities as commissioners. The hearing tonight is not about the library, it's about the fire station. I don't believe we would be here tonight if you'd been forthright with your fellow residents and taxpayers who, mind you, are going to pay for all of this, regardless of their interest in a new library or in an old fire station, and regardless of their ability to absorb a higher tax bill. Your responsibility is to us to identify, preserve, and develop our historic assets. Perhaps if the public had been informed when the Massachusetts Historic Commission denied the demolition and we'd had a discussion about it, we wouldn't be here tonight. There's no public record of any of this. The library people advocated for a design that yeah, I do. Yeah, the library advocated for a historic design. The architect offered one. There's no evidence of your advocacy for that. I feel that, do I have another minute or? No. Oh, okay, well, I ate up my time talking about Sandy. Sorry. I do have, yes, I do. Yeah.
Could you read that to the public, please, like you did the other one?
That's what I'm going to do, yeah. One question for you before I do that. Does Sandy know you're doing this?
Yeah, she asked me to do it.
She asked you to bring it?
Yeah, she said that bring it if I had the opportunity to read it.
Okay, I can certainly do that.
Yeah, she had
I have it turned off. I have it turned off. I'm just talking.
Are we having questions and answers after this? Is that the next step?
There's no questions and answers. This is a hearing to receive input.
So when is the question and answer? When we can ask?
There is no question and answer in a public hearing. Okay, here's the letter. Dear John, it is discouraging to learn that the very entity designed to identify, preserve, and develop Greenfield's historic assets, the Greenfield Historic Commission, has independently decided that Greenfield's classic 1930s fire station is not worthy of any form of preservation. This decision was made without public discussion, no public survey, or through any means of soliciting input from local residents. And this building is cited in an official historic district, and that was all decided back in 2017. Clearly, the current structure is no longer suitable for use as a modern fire station, with today's equipment needs differing greatly from when it was built. But surely a robust brainstorming session for the other creative uses would be beneficial to our community regarding this shared asset. A BBQ firehouse restaurant, firehouse restaurant, housing with a special apartment for the fire pole, unique shops, or any number of other end uses would be a good fit for renovation. Sandy's always got ideas, doesn't she? It is equally distressing to witness residents who care deeply about Greenfield's historic preservation now being mocked, chided, and sometimes publicly bullied for being unhappy about demolishing this historic Greenfield structure. To read unkind and hurtful comments on social media and elsewhere makes one wonder what happened to respecting fellow residents' opinion, even when they are different from our own, as well as ways in which people who care about our history can participate in discussions about buildings. Rather than replicating the divisiveness atmosphere within our national political parties as people retreat to their corners and fire insults at each other, can we as a community find a path forward to both preserve our history and also create new opportunities? The Franklin County Courthouse is a great example of preserving architecture specific to Greenfield and also building a new facility. I'm one of many people who endeavor to lift up our unique history through public efforts, finding like-minded volunteers to build something together as we strengthen Greenfield's interconnections. So I find it deeply disappointing to learn about quiet efforts that were underway to demolish the fire station with its unique 1930 architectural design and tribute to 9/11 first responders without any public knowledge or input. Is it possible to still preserve the fire station for reuse and also add some historic design features to the new library building that values the history and architecture of Greenfield? Many of us are friends who will see things differently, but at the end of the day, we share this place we call home. I beg you to find a compromise for our shared future. Thank you, Sandy Thomas.
Is it possible, if you have more time, to let people say more things than the time they had?
Well, we just opened up the meeting to anybody else who wanted to speak just now, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, I have
we were
more to
extending. You mean another meeting or something?
No, I'm just saying if some of us had maybe more than 2 minutes and we didn't know what the time limit was. No, okay.
No, I'm sorry, I can't do that. No, I don't think so. We announced it at the beginning, and we're sticking to that. Okay, yeah. So that ends our public comment section. I appreciate everybody coming here. I can assure you that everybody on this commission has intervened over the years, time and time again, with regard to historic buildings, and we will continue to consider all of those aspects as we go forward. Thank you very much. This is the end of this hearing.